Hello, friends. Welcome back to another Ubisoft deep dive rabbit hole. I did not expect to talk about Ubisoft so soon, so quickly after the recent video, where we looked at the fact that the recent Star Wars game, Star Wars, one of the world's largest franchises, almost impossible to put a game out or any kind of property out under that moniker and not be wildly successful. Well, Ubisoft just constantly surprises us as they put out what is essentially a flop of an experience using the Star Wars brand, then even pushing back their new Assassin's Creed game a few months because they wanted more time to polish it after seeing what an abysmal release their new Star Wars Outlaws game had. That whole situation was a mess. Just a messy mess. But I thought it would just end there. I'm used to Ubisoft knocking flops out of the park and just moving on to the next one. But it looks like we might actually be facing the straw that broke the Ubisoft camel's back here. Let's react. Tencent, the company that makes such glorious, awesome community-backed games as League of Legends. Man, you can't jump into a game without the positive community surrounding you on that one. Also, PUBG Mobile, Honor Kings, Arena of Valor. All the greats, you know them. It's experiences like Chess Rush and Honor of Kings World that really taught me what it was to be a gamer. And honestly, to this day, I wouldn't be here right now if not for Zhao Ding Ziwang. I'm being goofy and silly. I don't know what most of these are, to be honest, but very mobile-esque games. Low cost to produce, but end up being an absolute gargantuan powerhouse of a moneymaker based purely on the microtransactions. Like, pretty much all of these are free-to-play models that prey on whales to just bring in the billions per week. League of Legends revenue, let's take a look here. $2 billion in 2020. It looks like they've steadily been making between $1 to $2 billion for the last 10 years. That's the company we're looking at here. Apparently, they're considering buying out Ubisoft in conjunction with this, I'm assuming this is a parent company of Tencent. I'm not really too sure. He's a French businessman who co-founded Ubisoft with his brothers. So I guess it's the guy that owns Ubisoft or founded Ubisoft. So him and Tencent are considering a buyout of Ubisoft. Honestly, that makes us even more scary because now it seems even more possible if they're actually talking about it. They're actually considering going private. When a public company goes private, it's delisted from the stock market and is no longer owned by its shareholders. Control instead goes to an individual or select group of private shareholders, and in this case, it would be Tencent. It says here there's a number of reasons why companies choose to go private, and in this case, if I can just summarize it, it's because Ubisoft just wants out. Nothing they're doing is really hitting. They're not making the return on the games and their investments anymore, and they're really just getting their name dragged through the mud every time they release anything, and it's probably just not worth their stress. Obviously, the ultimate goal is to make things forever and get paid forever, but if you're gonna cap it at one of the largest companies in the business for the last 20 or so years, you've made a lot of money, and now you're bailing when it starts to go downhill for a big buyout, that's better than what most companies get, I suppose. This is actually kind of insane. Because as bad as it is now and it has been lately, we did talk about how games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla made $1 billion. It had microtransactions baked in, but obviously they hit a win there. They hit something there. It's just wild to me that they would already be just considering bailing after a few, granted, massive failures, but with so much legacy and so many great IPs behind their name. We talked about Far Cry 6 and how that felt repetitive and samey, but you still have that IP of Far Cry, and you can still do some really cool things with it, and it still carries a lot of weight. They just seem like they're out of ideas. They don't know how to move forward. They don't know how to push their games or their properties, and they don't know how to evolve. What they really strike me as, and I relate to this a lot, is like a YouTuber or an online creator who got popular doing one thing and they just keep doing that one thing over and over and over again and hoping that it hits. And at some point, it just starts to get a little old. Maybe like my main content on my Nintendo Switch focused channel, I don't know. But that's kind of what it feels like. They just keep shoveling out games as quickly as they can to stay in the constant public eye and remind people that they exist and their properties exist, but never really pushing the boundaries or taking time to innovate or create anything new. All of their IPs reflect this. Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, and even when they try something new like Star Wars, they just fail to hit the mark because it's more of the same. But if we were to look or visualize a world where Tencent owns Ubisoft and the IPs, can you see any of these games or these ideas or these developers sort of gelling with these huge, larger worlds like Assassin's Creed and Far Cry? Like, it's just, these are like smaller mobile experience based heavily on microtransactions. And sure, if Tencent bought out Ubisoft, and part of that, they'd also be buying out the studios that currently make those games, so buying out the developers and buying out the people with experience in making these games. Whoever would stick around in the merger and then whoever knew they would hire, sure, they would have those people that know how to make those games. It's not like they're going to expect the developers of League of Legends or PUBG to start making Assassin's Creed 17, but you're going to have the lead direction and the mentality of this company producing it and what they want. Again, you look at Valhalla being a huge success, and a lot of that monetary income came from microtransactions. I can't help but imagine that we'd pretty quickly see a free-to-play Assassin's Creed game with microtransactions that was available on mobile. I do get scared of a future where these bigger budget games lean into that. I still remember playing Dead Space 3 when it came out, and God, it was a sign of the times. It was scary enough to put off a lot of developers from trying it again for a long time. But Dead Space 1 and 2 were very classic horror, scary single-player games where you just play the game and have a good time. And then the third opened it up to, I think, co-op and also a more adventure feeling, but they added in microtransactions into what was a single-player experience. And it was the first time I'd ever seen that. I'd run out of ammo in the game, and ammo was so scarce, you just couldn't find it in this horror survival type game. But you could buy ammo with microtransactions, if you can believe it. This was an EA thing. On one hand, you could say, well, just don't do it. Just, you could play the game without doing that. And I did. But they create a problem that's solved by spending money, and you can feel it when you're playing. You can feel, ammo is so hard to find in this game. I'm going through so many fights without using the cool guns, or not being able to spam a gun I actually like, or just not being able to fire or shoot bullets and having to run around enemies because I'm out of ammo, because they want me to feel that so that I buy ammo. Because what's the point in having microtransactions for ammunition if at no point in the game you feel the need to buy it? They have to create an issue that's solved with money. So you take a company, and this is just my opinion, like Tencent, who makes their money via microtransactions and are very microtransaction heavy forward, and you give them the keys to something like Assassin's Creed, suddenly all the best weapons in the game, or unlocking certain stealth kills, or certain, you know how you get like Fortnite animation like dances or whatever. What if there's like cool animations for stealth kills in Assassin's Creed, but you only get the cool ones if you pay for them? I mean, Far Cry, again, you can lean into ammunition, maybe just even skins. I mean, skins, I guess I'm fine with, but I really don't like when microtransactions get forced into single-player experiences. I understand it more for free-to-play games that are online, especially if you want to buy cool skins to show off your character in MMOs and stuff like that. But again, when it comes down to creating an issue in a game that is solved only by paying money, it sucks so much. You see it in mobile games all the time. Pokemon Go, for example, they're constantly filling your inventory with eggs, and you can't get rid of them. You can't delete them. All you can do is hatch them. And if you want to hatch them quickly, you have to pay to do that. And then if you hatch too many or you catch too many Pokemon, your Pokemon storage gets full and you have to pay to upgrade it constantly, 50 Pokemon slots at a time. And the more Pokemon they introduce into the game, the more generations they add, the more you need to pay money to increase your Pokemon box storage. It never ends. Creating a problem that's only solved by money. I don't really want to see that Tencent mentality added into the Ubisoft games. I don't think that's going to be the savior of Ubisoft. Of all the companies to buy out Ubisoft, that is not one I want to buy it out. I don't know what company I would want to buy it out. Nintendo, maybe. I really don't see Nintendo being the head of large experiences like Assassin's Creed and Far Cry. Nintendo knows what makes a good game, and they don't really lean into microtransactions. They have a couple mobile games, and that's really it. But Ubisoft and Nintendo have a really good and close working relationship. You know, they've worked together on like Mario and Rabbids and a bunch of games like that. I mean, it would be nice to see a company like that acquire Ubisoft and see what they can do with it. I mean, there aren't many companies larger than Ubisoft that I would say are super trustworthy. Ubisoft games. Let's see what else they have. Far Cry, Just Dance. I'm surprised Just Dance alone doesn't keep them afloat. The Tom Clancy series, Prince of Persia, Watch Dogs, Rayman. Rayman is a franchise they're really dropping the ball with. What are they doing with that? They could be a rival to Mario Wonder type games if they just kept making them. These companies' priorities are all over the place. And the idea that Ubisoft, with all of these franchises and all these possibilities, a franchise like Assassin's Creed that you can literally take in any direction and release one every few years and be successful. I just don't know how you mess it up. And of all the companies to buy them out, I really hope Tencent isn't the company to do it. This is becoming even more interesting to see what happens with this new Assassin's Creed game when it finally releases. But I'm curious what you guys think. Do you want to see a world where Ubisoft gets bought out? Is Tencent the company for that, or can you suggest a better one? And do you think it's really that bad that they need to sell? Really? A company that large with all the resources in the world can't turn it around with the franchises they have? That's crazy to me. But let me know what you think down below. Lastly, I forgot our goof and a gaff last episode, so I definitely don't want to today. This was submitted over at my Beat 'em Up subreddit from Mille, and I've seen this before. Splash Mountain, obviously sometime in the 2000s. And I don't know if you've seen this meme, but a bunch of dudes got on this Splash Mountain ride with a GameCube, somehow hooked up. Someone tell me how this even makes sense. Playing Smash Brothers, it has to be fake. The screen has to not actually be on, there has to be printed out, right? Just for the photo. There's no way they're actually playing, but that would be legendary if they were. All right, guys, that's everything from me today. I appreciate you watching. Like, comment, and flip on that subscribe button, and let me know what you want me to talk about next. Bye.